Hi, this is Emma, and welcome to Esoteric Detective. The Mandela Effect is a phenomenon, whether psychological, or a true change to our reality, is something that is affecting millions of people worldwide. And hence, I decided to collate all my research into one video, in case you might be looking for an overview of just what the Mandela Effect is, or what people with the Mandela Effect believe is happening to their reality. For them, at least, their world is changing. This change exists in the form of memories of a world that does not exist today. But here I must place a warning, as I have seen the effects of this information on people in real life, and on the internet, who fell down this rabbit hole and are finding it hard, or impossible to get out of. So I say here, that there is very rarely information that you can be exposed to, that could truly change your life in only 1 hour, in a real way. But here you will find such information, in this video, if you watch it. Since the Mandela Effect is just that. For some people, it is easy to dismiss. For others, they accept it and can live a happy life. But for some, it can fracture their reality. It is a true red pill. And once you take it, it is very hard to come back. So I say to you, if you continue to watch this video, then spend a moment to think about it before you do. If you still want to take the red pill, then well, for the sake of context, let me just give you an outline, and a few examples. I will use timeline A and timeline B, for context. That is, I will define timeline A, as the time that is now, what is written in history now. And timeline B, as the small group of people, who have the Mandela Effect. Okay, let's go. In timeline A in the movie Star Wars, Darth Vader says to Luke Skywalker, in that immortal line, and I quote, "No, I'm your father." While people in timeline B remember Darth Vader saying, "Luke, I'm your father." This includes the actor James Earl Jones, who played Darth Vader, as shown here, in 2 separate interviews. Let's take a look.
When I first saw the dialogue that said, "Luke, I am your father," I said to myself, he's lying. I wonder how they're gonna play that lie out. When I first saw the dialogue that said, "Luke, I am your father," I said to myself, he's lying. I wonder how they're gonna play that lie out. When I first saw the dialogue that said, "Luke, I am your father," I said to myself, he's lying. I wonder how they're gonna play that lie out.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No, I am your father.
He told me you killed him.
No, 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 no. I am your father.
No. Redneck Jedi says, "Luke, I am your father."
Luke, I am your father.
No, I am your father.
No.
He told me you killed him.
No, I am your father.
What the fuck? No. No, no. No. No, he says, "Luke, I am your father," okay? I've seen this movie 500-600 times, okay? He says, "Luke, I am your father," alright?
Look at this photo of C3PO. Does this look like a normal photograph of C3PO? Look long and hard at it. And this kind of blew my mind when I saw this. But this is not what C3PO looks like now. This is what people say he used to look like. What he looks like is this. Do you see his leg? It is silver. But in this case a good portion of the population remembers him being completely gold in color. This is what the internet says is a photograph from 1977. And there are plenty of examples that now history shows that C-3PO always had a silver leg. It is like the C-3PO, with the entire gold body, has been erased from original Star Wars history. And I am talking about the original films, not from any remakes or remastered versions, since that is a different C-3PO. Let's take a look. People in Group B remember Forrest Gump saying, "Life is like a box of chocolates." Not how it is today. That is, life was like a box of chocolates. There is only one example of Forrest Gump saying, "Life is like a box of chocolates." But this was in the behind-the-scenes documentary. And this line was never used in the movie release. Let's take a look.
The first line of the book is, "Being an idiot ain't no box of chocolates."
My mom always said that life is like a box of chocolates.
The first line of the book is, "Being an idiot ain't no box of chocolates."
My mom always said that life is like a box of chocolates.
The first line of the book is, "Being an idiot ain't no box of chocolates."
My mom always said that life is like a box of chocolates.
The first line of the book is, "Being an idiot ain't no box of chocolates."
My mom always said that life is like a box of chocolates. My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
You know, someone once said that acting is the enchanted wand that turns words into magic. Thankfully, we've had that person dragged out to the parking lot and beaten. I'm talking about words like, "I could have been a contender." "Here's looking at you, kid." "Life is like a box of chocolates." All shining examples of how... I'm talking about words like, "I could have been a contender." "Here's looking at you, kid." Life is like a box of chocolates." "Life is like a box of chocolates." "Life is like a box of chocolates." "Life is like a box of chocolates."
You never know what you're going to get.
Another example is Field of Dreams. That is, in Field of Dreams, people from the A timeline. That is now, and this timeline, remember, as it is shown on DVDs. The famous line, "If you build it, he will come." But for people in the B timeline, this sounds completely wrong. Because to them, the line has always been, "If you build it, the A will come." So in effect, what we have is two groups of people that have a different memory of history. Does it sound right to you? A simple Google search shows at least what people are searching, and it is not, "If you build it, he will come." Could so many people who have made pictures with these words on them, that are fans of the movie, enough to do so, might be wrong. Or misremembering it wrong. Also, that famous line from Snow White. Mirror, mirror, on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? Well, guess what? That never happened. The line now, as history says it is. Magic mirror, on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all? This, even though many people know it as mirror, mirror, on the wall. Kind of strange, don't you think? Another famous example is from the movie Jaws, in which the famous line, or so those with the Mandela Effect say, is, "We're going to need a bigger boat." Do you remember that line? Well, it's not that line anymore. The line is now, "You're going to need a bigger boat." And remember Silence of the Lambs? That line that was famous, that everyone quoted. That line that Hannibal says, "Hello, Charisse." You know, that line that he says from the jail when he looks at her. Well, you can't find that line anymore. It does not exist in any copy of the movie. It is like it vanished. Or in this timeline, it was edited out.
Good morning.
Dr. Lecter, my name is Clarice Starling. May I speak with you?
Do you remember that famous movie called Interview with a Vampire? I sure do. But now it reads Interview with the Vampire. It does not seem to be the same movie as it was before, to a lot of people.
It's another blockbuster year for Hollywood. The motion picture Interview with a Vampire did over $100 million business. Over $100 million business. The motion picture Interview with a Vampire. 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 The motion picture Interview with a Vampire.
The motion picture Interview with a Vampire.
I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is the eagerly awaited Interview with a Vampire, and now it's the eagerly awaited Interview with a Vampire, and now it's the eagerly awaited Interview with a Vampire, and now it's the eagerly awaited Interview with a Vampire.
That gave us one movie that I liked very much, Interview with a Vampire, but I liked very much Interview with a Vampire, but I liked very much Interview with a Vampire, but I liked very much Interview with a Vampire, but I liked very much Interview with a Vampire, but...
Also, remember that TV show called Sex in the City? That is how people remembered it called. Well, guess what? It's not called Sex in the City. It is called Sex and the City.
I mean, maybe there can't be one.
You have
right?
Well, maybe.
Do you mean like another show like Sex in the City, or do you mean another Sex in the City?
Well, I'd like another Sex in the City, personally.
Another show like Sex in the City, or do you mean another Sex in the City? Another show like Sex in the City, or do you mean another Sex in the City?
The iconic scene in the James Bond movie Moonraker, which came out in 1979, seems to have changed. Some people say this might be the smoking gun of the Mandela Effect. Because not only has an iconic scene changed, but now with the changes it makes absolutely no sense. A link to the original video, which brought this to my attention, shall be placed in the description. In this famous scene from Moonraker, the very tall man named Jaws, on the right, turns to see the blonde-haired woman named Dolly. The tall man is called Jaws because of his sharp metal teeth. In the scene, he turns to see Dolly, and then she smiles and he sees that she has braces, and they both fall in love with each other. This was the reason for the connection between them. They both had braces of a type. It was the core thrust of the scene and the part at which the emotional connection between the two starts. But now Dolly, if you look back at the film today, no longer has any braces. And it makes no sense, not only in the mind of those that have seen the scene 1,000 times, but also in terms of the story. Since braces is what connects them both. Let's take a look. This was a famous scene from film history, and has been parodied many times. Let's take a look.
You take Visa Mini?
Ja, this is yes.
Good. I'm gonna get a few things.
Ja.
Telling me that this was love and
The disappearance of Dolly's braces has left many people confused, including die-hard fans of the Bond film. Let's take a look. What do you think is happening? Do you think everyone who watched the movie are just misremembering something? Or do you think there is more going on? How could this famous scene change so much? The famous TV show The Young Ones also now has a fifth housemate. That seems to have appeared out of nowhere. A woman with long hair that is covering her face. This woman not only appears in the show now, but they also have seemed to have appeared in publicity photos from the period that somehow everyone missed. This has left many confused. Not only people with the Mandela Effect, but fans of the TV show. Let's take a look. When asked about the figure, the writer of the TV show did not seem to understand what anyone was talking about. This bewildered many, until one of the TV show directors said he remembers putting the figure in the show just for fun. However, what is odd about this is it has taken years before anyone noticed.
If I were you. Don't you believe in spooks?
No. Why, oh!
Recently there has been a lot of discussion about the amount of seats in JFK's car. Since those with the Mandela Effect remember only 4 seats in the car when JFK was assassinated, not the 6 seats that there are now. This is the car that history says today JFK was riding in on the day he was assassinated. That is a 6-seater car. Take a good look. Do you remember it this way? This is what history shows now. However, this is not how people with the Mandela Effect remember the car. And also, it would seem, not how parts of documented history remember it as well. Let's take a few examples. A number of historical museums and other places have replicas of JFK's car which show 4 seats, not 6. Let's look at the car at the Dahl Auto Museum. Please note the color of the wheels and the shape. You will see this repeated, at least within these 2 museum examples. Have a good look. Now have a look at the replica of the JFK car at the Museum of Historic Auto Attractions. Note that everything is the same as that in the other museum.
This is a display of President Kennedy and Jacqueline Kennedy, Mrs. Kennedy, riding along in Lincoln in Dallas back on November 22nd. This whole museum is just put together so well. It's really a beautiful place to come and relive a huge part of history.
The United States Secret Service reenactment of the event shows a 4-seater car. This is from an agency with not only a high level of attention to detail, but a responsibility to record history as it happened, for investigative and judicial purposes. Let's take a look.
And it is believed this paper was used to wrap the gun. Agent Howlett is sitting in the position it is believed the assassin did, and he is pointing in the direction the rifle would have been pointed. Notice how low the window is to the floor. We look out of the window over the reconstructed position of the boxes for a few seconds before we remove the boxes to photograph the simulated motorcade. This is a simulated motorcade as it turns from Main onto Houston Street. The 2 motorcycle policemen are the 2 men who were in the same relative position to the president's car at the time of the assassination. They assisted in determining the approximate speed of the president's car during the filming of these scenes. As you will notice in this scene, the turn from Houston onto Elm Street is quite sharp. The 2 motorcycle policemen said the turn was so slow they had trouble keeping their balance. In a moment, you can see the tree blocking the view of the car for a split second. The shot that struck the president's neck occurred shortly after the car comes into view from behind the tree, and the shot that struck his head when he was about 85 feet down the road. This view of the simulated motorcade is through a 4-power, 18mm Ordnance Optical Incorporated rifle scope, the same make and model scope that was used by the assassin. You can see the degree of amplification offered by the scope by looking at the people outside of the scope as well as the parked cars. It is impossible to show in a movie the scale dimensions of everything exactly as observed out of the window due to the various distances from projector to screen. However, these scenes viewed through the scope give you the same field of view as that the assassin saw through his scope. No attempt was made to keep the crosshairs of the scope on the exact points the shots entered the president.
Would the United States Secret Service be likely to reenact an event with the wrong number of people in the car? That is, this car has only 4 people and is missing 2 people. That is, it is a 4-seater car. However, to be fair, they did state in the film, which is 18 minutes long, that the car was smaller than the one used by JFK. So maybe they were using a mock car and not the stretched 6-seater limo? What do you guys think? Take a look at the full video and judge for yourself. But to those with the Mandela Effect, they would often call something like this residue. That is, if the past is changing, it only changes some of it, not all of it. So fragments of the past are still left for people to catch. At least for now. The Trial of Lee Harvey Oswald. A movie that came out in 1964. The movie shows clearly a 4-seater car. Let's take a look.
Floor sniper?
Yes. I fired 3 shots at a moving target between 100 and 300 feet away, at about a 40-degree angle downhill.
Did you hit the moving target?
Yes, with all 3 shots.
Was an accurate record made of the time that elapsed between your first and your third shot?
Yes, 6 2/10 seconds.
6.2 seconds. That means you fired the 3 shots in 6/10 seconds time less than is indicated by the film.
Objection! He's leading. This witness has no personal knowledge of these films. Sustained.
In your opinion as an expert rifleman, how good a marksman would the man who killed the president have to be?
He would have to have been better than average, but he needn't have been an expert. The distance was not great, assuming that he had a telescopic sight.
Objection!
Well, you could say that might have just been a mistake. Well, no. Because the second movie, also called The Trail of Lee Harvey Oswald, which was filmed in 1977, also shows a 4-seater car. Let's take a look.
Lee Harvey Oswald was killed before he could stand trial for the assassination of John F. Kennedy. In creating the following drama, certain names and events have been changed. While inferences are made at the trial, the testimony and the historical scenes of November 21st through November 24th, 1963, including the film of the assassination of John F. Kennedy, have a factual basis and were recreated for this motion picture at the actual locations where the events took place.
Prosecution is unwilling or reluctant or afraid to test its thesis.
That wasn't me. I didn't do that.
No, you didn't. He did.
Could a movie that probably cost millions of dollars not find a stretched limo with 6 seats in Hollywood? To film the event, they had to go instead with a 4-seater car. Not once, in one version of the movie, but twice. Number 1. Reenactments by other people. There are many reenactments that show only 4-seater cars, neglecting the other 2 people in the car. Let's take a look. How is it so many people have missed the other 2 people in the car? The 2 people that take 2 extra seats, which people with the Mandela Effect never remembered, including the very Secret Service that protected JFK, at least in their own reenactment of the event, caught on old footage. What do you guys think? Don't you think this is all very strange? Or do you think this is just false memories, and we are all imagining a past that never happened? Well, for people with the Mandela Effect, history is changing. Or at least they have memories of a changed universe. Well, what else has changed? Well, let's move to the JFK assassination itself. And I have to place a warning here. This is graphic, and will show the death of JFK, so if this is something that bothers you, you might want to close your eyes for a moment, and just listen. Okay, let's take a look. In the video, did you notice anything strange? Well, you might notice something has changed if you suffer from the Mandela Effect. Apart from there being 2 extra people in the car that I don't remember, and the famous conspiracy theory that the driver shot JFK, which now is no longer possible at all. Jackie Kennedy is doing something very strange and different. Let's take a look. Did you see it? Now look at the direction of the blood splatter. Do you see that? The blood splatter goes up in a direct line. This seems like Jackie Kennedy was the one that shot JFK, and that shot came from below his head. Notice how she goes close to him, holds something under his head, and then the blood splatter. Now notice how she seems to push something behind the back seat as she crawls to escape. Is this the gun? Watch again. I have to add at this point that one of my first videos was one where I covered the JFK assassination. And I have watched this film maybe 24 times at least, before this came to light, and never at one point did I see this. And what is more odd, is this has never been a conspiracy until this year. Did Jackie shoot JFK? The truth is, I don't know. But it looks like it in the video. However, regardless, what I found the most strange is how no one ever noticed this until recently. That is, over decades since the assassination. Well, you might say, what else has changed? Surely there is something else which might shed light on this. And to this, I say, the governor now has a strange piece of information to add. That is, one of the new faces that now sits in the middle of the car. Let's take a look.
That the president had been fatally wounded. And I rather assumed that I had been. And so constantly there was going through my mind thoughts of Nellie, of the children, of what she'd done, and it's really difficult, I think, to try to explain all the things that you wonder about, all the things that you concern yourself with at a time like that. And so constantly there was going through my mind thoughts of Nellie, of the children, of what she'd done, and it's and so constantly there was going through my mind thoughts of Nellie, of the children, of what she'd done, and it's of Nellie, of the children, of what she'd done, and it's really difficult, I think, to try to explain.
Don't you think that is a strange thing to say? Look at his eyes. Look at the way he is talking. He seems to be implying that a woman in the car done something very bad. And he could not believe it. Don't you think this is very strange? Well, many people do. At least those with the Mandela Effect. Many people believe that Curious George, the famous monkey from children's books and TV, had a tail. But guess what? He doesn't, according to history, and never has. But that has not stopped costume makers, who have been making costumes of him for many years, still giving him a tail. Lots of people swear that he had a tail. A long one that was curled. Do you remember this? Or are you one of the people for who he has never had a tail? One major change, on the note of children's books, at least for those with the Mandela Effect, is the fact that for many now Bernstein Bears is spelt different. Those with the Mandela Effect remember it ending in Stein, not Stain, as it is now. But you might say this is misremembering. And maybe it is. But a number of researchers have found hundreds of articles in the past that spell it just like they remember it. That is, Stein, not Stain. And they all seem to change from Stein to Stain around the same year.
What's really interesting about this list is that even though there are 111 examples of Berenstein with an E in the papers from 1960 to 2015, only one of those 111 examples happened after the year 2000. Only one. And while you could try to say that's because the bears waned in popularity by the turn of the century, it cannot really account for it, because I found 531 instances of the bears being mentioned between the year 2000 and 2015, and only one of those 531 instances is spelled with an E after the year 2000, whereas, for example, during the 90s, I found 275 mentions of the bears, and 37 of them were spelled with an E.
Also, the Ford motor car logo has changed. For many people with the Mandela Effect, the Ford logo never had the small pig's curl on the letter F. Have a look. Does this look right to you? Another example of car logos is the Volvo car logo. For many, it never had the male symbol. That is, the outward pointing arrow. But this is how it has always been. At least in this timeline. In this reality. Does the logo look right to you? Or does this all just seem wrong? Those with the Mandela effect also say that the Volkswagen logo has also changed. They say it never had the split inside it. For people with the Mandela effect, they just don't recognize the car logos the same as they remember them. Song lyrics have slightly changed also. Like the theme by Fred Rogers, "Won't You Be My Neighbor?" Group B remembers that he never sung "It's a Wonderful Day in This Neighborhood." In their timeline, he sung "It's a Wonderful Day in the Neighborhood." Let's take a look.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful.
Some people say that the ending of the famous Queen song, "We Are the Champions," has now changed. That is, those that are affected by the Mandela effect, whether it is psychological or evidence in shifting realities. I found this thanks to one of my viewers, who posted it in the comments section. The famous Dominate end of the song, sung by Freddie Mercury in the band Queen, many say, used to end with the line, "of the world," as is found in the 1985 live performance. It is supposed to end like this. But now have a look at how it ends today, in the most dominate versions, and as it ends in all lyric databases. Let's take a look. Okay, so now he does not sing "of the world," at least in the most dominate version. Well, you might ask, how do other musicians remember it going? Let's take a look.
Of the world.
Maps are also changing. One such example is said to be many people who remember a large land mass of the western coast of Australia, the size of New Zealand. They say it was a large land mass, but no one can remember its name. But people swear it was there. They remember it. But if we look at a map, indeed the island is not there. You might think this is misremembering, but in fact, in the 1990s movie, Dazed and Confused, as if left by some ghostly remnant of the Mandela effect, we do see on the globe a picture of the island. Right there, in the film. It is a very large land mass. Just where people remember it. For something of a weird icing on the cake, the island's location was right where flight MH17 went missing. at least where search teams were sent to look. Something to think about. But other islands have gone missing also, and these have been thoroughly recorded. For instance, people remember an island called Sandy Island. People said they have gone there. It has been recorded on many maps from cartographers around the world, and cited by many ships. But there is one problem. It is not there anymore. That is, it is vanished from the planet. And is also starting to vanish from history. Greenland on a map. To people in Group B, Greenland seems too large. In Group B's timeline, Greenland is much smaller than it is now. It used to be a small island. But now it seems massive. And we are talking about on flat maps, not globes, where different map scales of Greenland make it smaller. We are talking about flat maps. That is, to Group B. It just looks much larger than they remember it. Also, to people in Group B, Australia looks wrong. It seems way too close to any other country. Now it is only 5 miles to the nearest country. Group B remembers Australia being much further away with a large ocean around it. Group B remembers that the human skeleton was different. That the layout of the organs was different. And especially don't remember the ribs at the back of the body, being unconnected as they are now. In this timeline. Let's take a look. Does the skeleton look right to you? A number of people who suffer from the Mandela Effect have noticed something very ominous. And that is changes to the Christian King James Bible. The major English translation of the Bible for Christians around the world. The Lord's Prayer. People with the Mandela Effect, that is Group B, remember the Lord's Prayer as, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth, as it is in heaven. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. This was the dominant form of the Lord's Prayer. But now it has changed. At least for those suffering from the Mandela Effect. And I can say, as someone who was raised a Catholic, and someone who attended a Catholic school, that it has changed for me as well. For us, the Lord's Prayer has changed to, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Have a look at the Lord's prayers side by side. I have highlighted the changes for those suffering from the Mandela Effect. To those with the Mandela Effect, this change is almost unbelievable. Since I myself and others in Group B have recited this prayer thousands and thousands of times growing up, and to us this is not the Lord's Prayer today. This is something else, much different. And something very disturbing. Grain fields, in the King James Bible, have now changed for Group B, into cornfields. Take this passage for an example, which now reads, and I quote, "And it came to pass, that he went through the cornfields on the Sabbath day, and his disciples began, as they went, to pluck the ears of corn." Well, you might say, maybe it was corn. Maybe Group B, that is, those with the Mandela Effect, just are misremembering. To which I would say, if those with the Mandela Effect are misremembering, then they are misremembering a truer history. Because it is known that corn did not exist in the Middle East at the time of the Bible. And never had. Corn was brought over from the Americas over 1,000 years after the Bible was written. At this point in history, the Americas were not even discovered yet. And here in this change, from wheat to corn, might lie the smoking gun. Because now the Bible does not make any sense, in regards to known history. To Group B, that is people with the Mandela Effect. The word corn was never in the Bible. It was always grain. Or wheat. You have to ask yourself, how is this possible? Throughout the Bible, the word wineskins, which Group B, those with the Mandela Effect remember, has now been changed to bottles. This can be seen in the following example. Neither do men put new wine into old bottles, else the bottles break, and the wine runneth out, and the bottles perish, but they put new wine into new bottles, and both are preserved. This does not make sense, for a number of reasons. Not only is the word bottle a modern term, but in the context of the phrase, which states that bottles perish. This is because bottles do not perish, but wineskins do. That is, a wineskin can slowly degrade with wine inside it, the wine eating away and changing the leather. But now with bottles, the phrase makes no sense, because bottles are not destroyed by old wine. If you leave wine in a bottle, nothing happens to it. In fact, it can become better with age, as the known phrase goes. So this again, now with the change, makes no sense whatsoever. At least, to those suffering with the Mandela Effect. In the famous line from Matthew 26:45, the phrase from Jesus, where he commands them to wake, is now completely different. Now Jesus commands them to sleep. This is the passage as it now reads. Then cometh he to his disciples, and said unto them, Sleep on now, and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that doth betray me. I ask you, does this make any sense, that now Jesus says, Sleep now, and take your rest, then right after, tells them to rise and let us be going? For people with the Mandela Effect, that is Group B, they remember it like this. Then cometh he to his disciples, and said unto them, Wake now, behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that doth betray me. Which makes sense to you? What do you remember? For me, and those with the Mandela Effect, this seems to now make no sense whatsoever. Even in basic grammatical terms. The lion and the lamb. If you don't know about this effect, it has left people all around the world, who knew this phrase well, that is, the phrase in Isaiah 11:6, which used to read, The lion shall lie down with the lamb. This phrase, and you might find this hard to believe, if you know your Bible, now reads, The wolf shall dwell with the lamb. That is, lion, has now changed into wolf, and may have taken this as a very ominous sign indeed. For the lion represents the Lion of Judah. What this change means now, no one can quite understand, since the wolf does not have any majestic and holy role in the Bible. So to put this in short, the Lion of Judah has now been replaced in a well-known passage in the Bible everyone knew, at least those with the Mandela Effect, by a wolf. A wild wolf, with a very ominous feel about it. Well, you might say, maybe we are just misremembering. To which I would say, that if we are misremembering, it would seem that we have been doing it for a very long time. Even those versed in scriptures. Let's take a look.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice. Tumbling down the rabbit hole? You could say that. I can see it in your eyes. You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up. Ironically, this is not far from the truth. Do you believe in fate, Neil?
No,
Why not?
because I don't like the idea that I'm not in control of my life.
I know exactly what you mean.
But without money, people like us ain't got no chance at all. But it ain't always gonna be that way, James. It says so right in the Bible. The day will come when the lion will lay down with the lamb. Yeah, but only the lion gonna get up.
But we must end the voice of weeping in Israel. Barabbas, your zeal blinds you to the truth. The New Jerusalem will not be built by murder and uprisings. The wisdom of God will fill the land as water fills the sea. The lion will lie down with the lamb. There'll be no more killing or destroying. And the voice of weeping shall be heard no more. The lion will lie down with the lamb.
And the lion shall lay down by the lamb. Oh, yes. And the lion shall lay down by
And the lion shall lay down by the lamb. And the lion shall lay down by the lamb, oh yes.
What we asked him to do. Now we want to go into more detail, and we're going to ask Dr. Tom McCall, who is with Zola Levitt Ministries in Dallas, Texas, the same question. Dr. McCall, how would you describe the millennial kingdom?
When he returns back again to the earth. And it's going to be different from other reasons. The whole world is going to be pacified. The animal kingdom is going to be pacified. The lion and the lamb will lie down together. The lion and the lamb will lie down together. The lion and the lamb will lie down together.
Another YouTuber found some further information, which I found very interesting. A link to the channel shall be placed in the description. Let's take a look.
Hi, it's God's Warrior Princess 777, and tonight I'm going to do a video on Isaiah 11 verse 6. What I'd found, I found this author. His name is Eric Carlson, and he's written different books, and this particular book that I found that he wrote is called Decoding Space-Time, the Mathematics of Faith. As previously discussed, Isaiah also prophesied of this era, an era of peace, in which the lion shall lay down with the lamb. Isaiah 11, 6-8. Now, he's talking about Bible prophecy. He would for sure have to get that right. You do not make a mistake writing a book about prophecy. So right there, to me, that's another proof that it was definitely lion shall lay down with the lamb. For instance, I found this. I wanted to go into this. Now, this is actually referring to Isaiah 65:25, and I don't want to talk about this verse particularly, but here it says, the lion and the lamb shall feed together, but in the Bible now it says, the wolf and the lamb shall feed together. Now, because this is in a blue bold lettering, which has to be different from the typed text, I think it wasn't able to read that yet. Now, I'm sure it will, and because I'm talking about it, it'll probably change, but so far here to me is proof that that verse actually said lion and the lamb shall feed together. Numbers, and here you see the lion who lay down with the lamb, and this is like a vegetarian thing, but you know that they had quoted lion who lay down with the lamb. Now, if it was wolf, they would have put wolf who lay down with the lamb. They're a human, like this is about being vegan and vegetarian and how you shouldn't eat meat. So then I went down here and I saw this one. It says, psychic sees the future, a new world is born, prophecies and whatever. But then it says down here, now the date is December 2nd, 1973. It says, then the lion shall lie down with the lamb, and the bear shall eat grass like the ox, and the child shall play on the hole of the asp, and nothing shall. And so I'm like, that sounds right. That sounds like the way I remember Isaiah 11:6.
World changes because the Bible has changed. Okay, now we can go to here to Isaiah where it talks about the lion and the lamb. Okay, the lion and the lamb is not there anymore, my friends. It's now the wolf and the lamb. Okay, the wolf and the lamb never existed in my reality. It's gone now, or it's here now. If you Google the wolf and the lamb, you'll get plenty of Bible scriptures that make sense of it. You're going to see like a wolf laying with a lamb, and we all know that that doesn't exist.
Use the Force, Luke. Let go, Luke.
The Force is strong and it is weak.
Luke, trust me. Use the Force, Luke. Let go, Luke.
The Force is strong and it is weak.
Luke, trust me. Use the Force, Luke. Let go, Luke.
The Force is strong and it is weak.
Luke, trust me.
Maybe one of the most disturbing changes noted by those people with the Mandela Effect is the new words of Jesus in the Old King James Bible, which those with the Mandela Effect do not remember. One of the best known examples of this is found in Luke 19:27, and reads, "But those my enemies, which would not that I should reign over them, bring here, and slay them before me. This at least to people with the Mandela Effect, does not sound like anything Jesus Christ would say. And many find this confusing. And with this, we find ourselves, and many people with the Mandela Effect, searching for possible explanations, of which, perhaps there are many. But let's look at some, at least the most popular within this research field. One of the many theories is that our reality is changing, and that somehow another reality has either blended with ours, or we are remembering things from another reality. It is shown that at a quantum level, that the observer does affect reality, at least with subatomic particles. And it is worth noting that parallel dimensions are also something that is a serious theory in physics, which particle accelerators like CERN actively searching for other dimensions. So this is one possible explanation. But if this is happening, it would almost be impossible to measure, since the foundation of the scientific method is that reality can be constantly and faithfully measured. But if our reality is changing, we could never test for it. That is, test it in a scientific way. We would always never know if it was real. We might feel it is real, but we could never know. Another possible explanation is that this is some kind of glitch in some kind of supermatrix. That is, we are living inside a computer simulation, and that the overlords of this simulation, or perhaps the computer system itself, is somehow changing or glitching. And that there has been some kind of event that has done this. This again, at least the idea of a computer simulation, is something that is taken seriously in physics.
When you then try to understand these pictures, you find out that buried in them are computer codes, just like the type that you find in a browser when you go surf the web.
You're saying your attempt to understand the fundamental operations of nature leads you to a set of equations that are indistinguishable from the equations that drive search engines and browsers on our computers.
That is correct. So,
wait, I have to just be silent for a minute here. So you're saying as you dig deeper, you find computer code writ in the fabric of the cosmos?
Into the equations that we want to use to describe the cosmos, yes.
Computer code.
Computer code, strings of bits of ones and zeros.
It's not just sort of resembles computer code, you're saying it is computer code.
It's not even just is computer code, it's a special kind of computer code that was invented by a scientist named Claude Shannon in the 1940s. That's what we find very, very deeply inside the equations that occur in string theory and in general in systems that we could say are supersymmetric.
Another explanation is that this is some kind of brainwashing or psychological operations by some kind of government agency in order to experiment with the human population. Maybe brainwash them, or maybe even use as a weapon to break the minds of the population. This could be done by taking well-known, at least to research groups, misremembering from history, and the collective bringing them together into one theory, thus creating a kind of mind-breaking philosophy, a virus of insanity, something that could be used as a weapon to break the minds of people. In this case, the most sensitive, the conspiracy field. This is a very real and possible explanation. We are drenched in information that comes from the internet. It is impossible to research anything without using it. A lot of this information could be manufactured. Governments have been researching mind control and doing experiments on the populaces for decades. Now the most popular explanation, and that is that all this could be simple false memories. Perhaps this is not the most abstract of all the theories I have listed. The human memory is very poor and often adds memories in places where there were none. Take the famous balloon experiment for an example, in which a number of people became convinced in a psychological study that they took a balloon flight, which never took place. People were given a photo album, and in that photo album they were merely shown pictures of themselves inside a hot air balloon. Then at home they were told to think about it. At the end of the week, with only the most basic suggestion, they believed that the balloon ride was real and they really took the ride. Our memories often fill in the blanks, if they decide they need to. And they often take information from elsewhere in order to do it. This could explain the Mandela Effect. History as we see it, is not how we remember it, so we have to look at our reality and say that our reality is wrong, instead of our memories. This could, and should be something, that is entertained, when examining the Mandela Effect. Another idea is that this is a spiritual experience, and that this is some kind of either illusion, or change to our reality by some unknown supernatural force. Various researchers state that something or someone might be trying to talk to us. That is, the codes and changes might have some kind of pattern to them, like those found in the Bible with geometric codes. In which case, the force could either be good, evil, or something in between. This is the most unscientific of theories. But as Einstein himself said, condemnation, without investigation, is the height of all ignorance. So let us keep investigating, stay non-biased, and measure and research, and see if maybe there is some kind of overlaying pattern to which we can glean more insight. Let us entertain all theories, since it's still early days with this phenomena, until we find the one that forms some kind of relationship with our known world we can not only understand, but makes sense to us. I have no true idea what the Mandela Effect is. For in truth, it could be anything. But whatever the case, you have to go out and look at information yourself. Form your own conclusions. Because that is the only way you will see and understand the hidden order of things behind the visible. Whatever the case. In the meantime, whatever prescriptive you decide is right for you, make sure you stay tuned and subscribe to Esoteric Detective Incorporated to keep up to date with the strange and paranormal. And please give a thumbs up if you liked the video. And do let me know what you think in the comments section. Until next time.
At last. Welcome, Neo. As you no doubt have guessed, I am Morpheus.
It's an honor to meet you.
No. The honor is mine. Please, come, sit. I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice. Tumbling down the rabbit hole?
You could say that.
I can see it in your eyes. You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up. Ironically, this is not far from the truth.